Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Alleluia. Over these past few weeks, as the world has responded to the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic, as we have needed to distance ourselves as an act of kindness to each other, as we have wanted to draw close and have found new ways to do that, I've been reflecting and praying about Easter this year, aware all the time that when I was at church I would be in closed buildings, aware that I would be allowed to be in church because I work in the church, and therefore one of the very few people able to be inside a place of worship, a place dedicated for worship over this time. It has been, through all those services that I've been part of, a very, very strange thing. And this morning at the cathedral, I said in the preaching that despite the fact that there were only a handful of people, a small handful of staff in the cathedral, of clergy in the cathedral on that day, that the whole building echoed with the sounds and the presence of those who are regular members of that community, but also with the sound and the memories and the echo of those who have been part of that community and congregations over many, many, many years. And that's how I think all around the world this Easter will be remembered and celebrated. Memory is something which we know for we humans is pretty tricky. It can be somewhat selective. It can be taken for us through that terrible disease of Alzheimer's. It can go through injury. And when someone we love dies, we know that they will be remembered for as long as those who knew them or who knew their story are still present. One of the most searing images of these past weeks, for me at least, has been the one of a priest in Spain somewhere, asperging, putting holy water onto a line of coffins, maybe about 20 or 25 of them. And there was in that moment a witness that though those people would have died alone, medical staff with them, but not families, not dear ones, not the beloved, that though they would have died alone and isolated, that though the restrictions on burial and who might be able to be present would be very real, that priest stood as witness that they are known and will be remembered, are not forgotten in the heart and love of God. This is the story of Easter. In my reading for today, I read part of a sermon that had been preached by the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, in 2004. And he spoke about the days of the death squads in countries like Argentina and El Salvador. He talked about the way that Christians there developed a way of celebrating their faith, their hope and their resistance. And at the liturgy, someone would read out the names of those killed or disappeared, and for each name, someone would call out from the congregation, presente, here. No matter how dispersed we are, no matter what grief there is, this Easter, we are all present in God's love. His memory will never end. His love is willing to hold us and to carry us and to bear us from this day into all eternity. This is the gift of salvation. This is love at work. As we live into the coming days of Easter, 50 days of celebration in the life of the Church, we will be wondering what resurrection, living into those new days of Christ's love alive now, means for us. We know that it isn't going to be business as usual. And we know that it won't simply be, as some people are saying, going back to normal. This is not about resuscitation, and neither is Easter. It is about resurrection. It is about having the faith which says, for every single human life present, Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Alleluia.